I drank that 6-ounce glass of juice immediately, and I'm not kidding, immediately the brain fog lifted.
Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about a very trending, a very hot topic in the cannabis industry. And we're going to be talking about juicing raw cannabis. And I have the pleasure to introduce a really good friend of mine and probably one of the world's leading experts on raw cannabis juicing, Mr. Carl Loveday. What is the difference between hemp and cannabis?
So they're both classified as cannabis sativa if you look at them as far as, what the wording is. The difference is that hemp is going to it's going to be more so like the older strains of cannabis. It's going to have a really low THC and a possibly high CBD, and then all the other phytochemicals that are involved with cannabis. And in relation to medicine, we're looking at so many compounds right now. We're really focusing on 4. I think there's a 5th they're looking at right now, but there is so many more. There's hundreds of more phytochemicals and compounds. To quote the late great Jay Cordage, the yet unidentified things that are out there that we just don't know about, but are truly healing and beneficial to us, even if we don't know about them and can't wrap our heads around them yet. So for me, hemp is more akin to the things I started with, which I'm excited about. The higher THC strains are great. So for me, as far as I couldn't really get into the science of exactly how they're different. I know that certain strains of hemp are made to be what they call defeminized. So it doesn't have that female energy as much as a true cannabis plant does. And so it's not going to have the same effect on your body. So that's one thing that's missing. But the benefit of having the low THC is that you're not going to have that psychoactive effect of the THCA once it, turns into that fat-soluble compound, which is the delta-9, which gives you the psychoactive effect. And there's a benefit of that. There's a benefit to not having that component fully there. For me, the difference in hemp and cannabis, as far as, hemp being this plant that is defeminized or doesn't have some of the things that cannabis sativa or cannabis indica has, there is some things in it that is going to make it an interesting plant to research. I think CBD is such an awesome phytochemical, but it's just not the whole story because it's a very special plant. There's so many things that are locked into this beautiful plant that just are starting to be, they're just scratching the surface here. So we're really in an exciting time. One, because it's becoming legal. So you're seeing a lot more people playing with it. And I think the more you see people playing with it, I'm a deep believer in that whatever you grow, you're going to have a different reaction to whatever you're growing and eating or consuming to what someone else is doing. And so much information is going to be spread and shared. There's going to be a lot of cooperation going on. We're going to find out so much about this plant and plants in general.
Great. Tell us about the cannabis juicing, raw
Yes.
cannabis juicing, how that's so effective, how you got into that. Give us the ins and the outs of raw cannabis juicing.
So I had a good friend who had a huge outdoor grow, illegal by the way. This type of grow system outdoors, just you can't do it with the legislation that's in Colorado. At that time, they couldn't do it. Well, anyways, I said, hey, I need product. He said, man, you called at the right time. I'm about to harvest, and I've got all this product I've got to just get rid of because we're done with the grow, or we can't have a trace of anything. So I said, drop it off at the house. So sure enough, I wake up the next morning and there is 45 pounds of wet product. Roots, stems, leaves, flower, everything, things that he couldn't take to market, so to speak. So I started juicing right then. I fired up my Green Star juicer. It's one of the few juicers I found that can handle the cannabis load because it's a very fibrous material. That's why they use it industrially, because it's such a great fiber. And so the twin gear juicer, especially with the power behind the Green Star, I could juice. And I'd have to stop every hour for about 10 minutes, let the machine cool, so I didn't get above that magic number of 105 and maybe destroy some of the key enzymes I was wanting to keep for the first juice that I was going to drink. I juiced that whole crop, like as much as I got, I juiced. 45 pounds in one day I juiced. It made about 3-gallon bags of juice. And I consumed only 6 ounces that day. I was suffering from severe brain fog from the Lyme disease. I couldn't even have a conversation. What I'm doing right now would have been not possible. I drank that 6-ounce glass of juice immediately, and I'm not kidding, immediately the brain fog lifted. I called my friend and had like a conversation, like a 2.5-minute conversation with him, and he's like, whoa, bro, something's working. Because like you could only say yes and no and like barely hold, thought patterns together. And now we're having a whole conversation. And I explained to him the experience I was having and the difference of, because he thought I was weird for wanting the roots and all that. Like, who wants all that rubbish? And so right then and there, I knew something was going on and I needed to keep on doing this. And since then, I've just been on this path. I've been juicing cannabis. I've been making products for not only myself, but for other people, not just to do testing, but to really spread the healing knowledge and the wealth of knowledge that I have gotten from so many other healers, so many other people. This has been my journey, but it's been a shared one. This medicine is now becoming legal in more and more states. After this farm bill being passed, we're going to see hemp becoming legal in more and more states, and there's going to be a lot to play with, a lot to have fun with. And so here we are.
For the general person, where do you see the cannabis juicing going in the future? Do you see it like some of these juices at Whole Foods? I mean, and can you explain like the preservative method, how good the juice is, how long the juice is good for, stuff like that?
Well, with your method and what you're doing with the glycerin and the quality of glycerin that you have, that's the future. Because unfortunately, most people will not be able to either legally grow this much or just physically won't be able to do it. But the good news is that the laws are changing and that there will be one day where you'll be able to do this. And even right now, if you could just juice one plant, and have that medicine in you, that's like a kickstart to the endocannabinoid system. I truly believe in homeopathy. I truly believe in diluting things and the power of that, because it's a suggestive thing to the DNA. And we know within that whole roadmap lies so much healing. So even if you were able to grow just a little bit, if you just put a little bit of that juice in your life, you're going to reap some real rewards. Now, they're not going to be maybe as dramatic as mine were, because come on, I juiced 45 pounds and I drank a 6-ounce glass like right out of the gate. That was an amazing experience, and I hadn't had a dramatic experience since that time, because I never went into that space of juicing that much at one time. I usually only do about 2 ounces when I do a day, which requires quite a bit of product. But the difference is when you're juicing whole cannabis, a true full spectrum medicine is the whole plant. If you're juicing the root, it's going to heal the root, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there up, all those other chakras, all the way to the crown, you're looking at that flower, that thing that touches the sun, and immediately takes in that sun energy and creates a medicine out of it. That's just, there's nothing like that.
Can you explain the difference between juicing a male plant versus a female plant versus a hermaphrodite plant?
So this is really exciting, Ed, and the reason why it's so exciting is because we've really concentrated on the female plant, because she's the one who produces the flower and a lot of the medicines that people need today. What is not being looked at is the beautiful male plant. We know we're both married. We understand the benefit of having women in our life, whether it's a daughter, a wife, or a mother. It's the same thing with cannabis. You have to have that male there too. You have to also have the hermaphrodite. We're starting to see that in our society, is that there's certain people with certain experiences that are different from ours, but beneficial to the whole. And it's the same thing with cannabis. There's a reason why that hermaphrodite is there. A lot of scientists will look at it as, okay, well, that's just a genetic deformity, and that's fine, but why does it exist? We can't answer that question yet, but I propose that we start using it and see the benefits of it. So I juice males, I juice hermaphrodites. For years, that's how I produced female seed with my female plants, my flowers, and I would pollinate with the hermaphrodite. So I juice it. I juice everything. I juice the males. I have the pollen in the juice from the males. I like to just have truly full spectrum medicine. And even seeds as well being juiced. There's a certain oil that's going to be, especially if it's cold pressed, it's going to be extracted into that juice and give you an experience of the seed as well. So these are, to me, very fascinating things and something that I haven't heard anyone talk about.
What about sprouted seeds, like juicing sprouted seeds?
Of course. You could always be juicing sprouts. It's a wonderful, it's definitely a quick fix, but you're not going to get all the components. It's like alfalfa. Alfalfas are really underused green. It's something that we use just for animal feed at this point. Some people use it. But to me, my understanding of alfalfa is just like cannabis, is that there's only one part of it being used. So they're just sprouting it, right? And there's benefits in that. There's great benefits in sprouts. And I'd say, yes, you use every part of it. That's another part of it, sprouting it and using the sprouts. But there's something about once it's reached past that first axis, there's something that just changes the whole plant. And they've found that scientifically, the compounds in the plant start changing. That's when the first awakening of some of these acids that are now being found to be so highly beneficial start being made.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, if someone can't afford, let's say, buying a bunch of flowers or buying or getting access to the plants, I mean, we can all get hemp seeds pretty much. And there's those sprouters that are available for sale. I mean, would that be another cost-effective option of just sprouting your own seeds and then juicing those?
A great way. And if you just wait a couple weeks and you have some indoor lights, you could definitely be juicing just the bigger plant as well. It's almost the difference between sprouts and microgreens, right? Let them grow a little bit and then just juice those as well. I think it's important, and I think that's a great point, that you're using every stage of the plant. Being on the path that we're on and doing what we're doing in our lives, we see the benefit of having things in different stages. We love putting sprouts on our salad. We love microgreens on anything that we make, because not only does it make it pretty, but we know that it's a power-packed punch in that little guy. And it's the same thing with cannabis. I think you should be using it in every stage, eating the seeds, sprouting the seeds. I'm not really big into roasting the seeds. I know that there's some components that can be a little toxic to the endocrine system when you roast seeds. But if you can get raw seeds, by all means, do all stages. Sprout, microgreen them, so to speak, or just grow them to a certain stage and juice the whole thing. It might not be cost effective, but I think you'll feel the benefits in the long run, and it will be well worth your investment.
Question that comes up: will I get high from juicing? And you mentioned earlier about mixing it with different things. Can you expand on that a little bit?
You can. If you have these certain fatty acids or fat compounds like coconut oil, and you mix those are going to convert the THCA into the fat-soluble compound, the delta-9, that will get you high. And citrus as well. But there's also ways that you can disrupt the trichomes, basically the resins on the outside of the plant, when you're transporting them. And those will cause some aging in the process. So let's say I had a friend who's growing, or I'm growing, and I decided, well, I'm going to juice today. Now, if you juice straight from the field, you got it, and you go right in the juicer, you're not going to get high off that. But if along the growing process, some of those trichomes and the plant's getting to the end of its cycle, of its growing cycle, some of those trichomes are disrupted, they can actually what they call cure, and then turn into that fat-soluble compound that will create a high. So you got to be careful with that.
Is it true that I've heard stories that if the juicer gets too hot, it can decarboxylate the THC?
That's right.
And then people putting it in, mixing it in with hot tea or coffee, and ends up switching into the psychoactive. And then one other question is, if you do juice, does that mean that you'll show up positive on a urinalysis?
Now, I was constantly doing testing, blood testing as well, and I was constantly juicing. I did not test positive until I started doing the oils. So that's when I finally tested positive. And I knew I was going to, because I was having experiences where I was getting high, so to speak. And my doctor let me know, okay, this showed up positive. And she thought it was great. I mean, I had a conventional physician, and she thought it was great I was juicing cannabis. She read Dr. William Courtney's book. She was blown away. She's like, this guy, and she read Medical Jane's, studies, or peer-reviewed studies on his information, and she was blown away. She's like, oh my gosh. So having people like that in your corner that are willing to tell you, hey, this is what's showing up, that was highly beneficial, because it's given me some insight that, okay, these things can show up. So you got to watch that, especially if you're a truck driver, or you work for the county, or anyone who's getting tested on a regular basis. You could lose your job because of it. So that can be an issue for sure. So you have to be careful. For sure.
One last question. Let's say someone is juicing kale, carrot, spinach. They're making a multitude of vegetable juice fresh. Can you add some cannabis into that?
You can. Just do not use apple, any citrus, because it will. We've done some experiments recently with apple juice and how it converts those acids into the psychoactive compounds. So be careful with that. I usually just like doing it like wheatgrass. I do it isolated from my other juices. But you can definitely add those things to your juice. It's not going to hurt. And if you're using just a little bit of cannabis, flushing all that cannabis through with carrots and these other things that you want to be juicing can be highly beneficial, because it will grab all those acids off of the rotating gears or whatever kind of juicer you have. It'll grab those things and put them in your juice, and that could be highly beneficial. So blends, just stay away from citrus, fruits, and any coconut oil, coconut milk, that might give you the psychoactive effect that you don't want to have.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add that we didn't cover?
No, I'd say just stay tuned. There's going to be some really exciting things happening with this beautiful plant, and a lot of people are going to be receiving a lot of healing benefits from some of the research that is going to be done in the future. So I'm excited. I think that with what you're doing, I think that's the next step. A lot of people just don't know what to do with the raw product, and I think with what you're doing and at the level you're doing it, the high integrity, the high quality, and you're just on the cutting edge of really producing a product that's just going to be second to none.
Well, I mean, I see all the growers in Canada and all of the hemp, and so much of it is just going to waste. The stem, the root, and some of the leaves is just being tossed out, and that can all be utilized for juicing. Like I see cannabis juice bars in the future or something like that. So,
oh, totally. I mean, this is something that could be in every juice bar in the future.
You heard it straight from the mouth of Mr. Carl Loveday, and another great episode, great interview on cannabis. This is Dr. Group. Live healthy.